All right, welcome. As you know, we are recording these workshops. So if you don't want to be seen or identified, you're welcome to close your camera. My name is Melina Starter. I'm going to go ahead and get started. As you know, these workshops are brought to you by the Santa Barbara County America Job Center of California. I'm excited to be here once again. I've been doing this on a monthly basis for the last few months. And today's topic, so up to now, we've covered some of my workshops have been on emotional intelligence, on stress management, and building resiliency. So today, I want to cover some concepts about time management, which I really refer to as time management as self-management. At least that has been my experience, because if I have tools to be able to manage my time, then, manage myself, then I'm also managing my time well. So I'll be sharing some concepts around that. This is generally when I teach this, it's really a 3 to 4 hour workshop because there's a lot of exercises. I'm still gonna ask you guys to do the exercises along the way. However, we're probably not going to be able to spend as much time on the exercises as I normally would like to, but we'll see how much we can get done. So I know that Jenny and Takako, you've been to some of my workshops, so you may already know me a little bit. I'm welcoming Ramon. Welcome to the workshop. So hi. So you're welcome. So you're welcome to participate verbally when I'm asking questions or not. That's totally okay. You can put questions you have in the chat and I'll get to those eventually, especially when you guys are doing some exercises. I'll be responding to the questions. So just a little bit about me. I've been doing this kind of work for about 22 years. I actually started out in the workforce division at my local city of Glendale. And so I've worked a lot with job seekers as well as businesses. So that's my professional experience as far as doing workshops. And I've also have been running my own personal practice as a life coach, as a professional life coach since 2003. Just some background, my education is in psychology. My master's I got in psychology, marriage and family therapy. Although I completed all my hours, I decided not to pursue my licensure and I opened up my practice as a certified coach. But enough about me. This is about you and getting some skills and some, hopefully some guidance that can support you. So I always start my workshops with this concept of how we listen and how we can listen to today's presentation so that it adds value for you. So how we listen, what do I mean by that? All of us as human beings, we do have a tendency to listen through filters, our own life experiences, our own ideas of the world, our preconceived notions and all of that. So generally when we listen to information, we either tell ourselves, oh yeah, I already know that, I don't need to listen to that, or we distort information, or we generalize information. And for you having been here today, you may have some ideas about time management. You may have attended some of my workshops before or other workshops, it doesn't matter. So in order for today to be of value for you, I really invite you to listen to today's presentation from a particular place. And that's with your own life in mind and some of the things that you're interested in accomplishing or some of the things that you're dealing with. And when you prepare yourself to listen from that space, you will receive some insights and some information that will add value for you. So I really invite all of you to be here with that in mind. So what I want you to think about is what is one thing that you're interested in accomplishing right now or something that you're dealing with? maybe specifically when it comes to time management or self-management. Anybody from the participants who would like to share something you're dealing with or something you're interested in accomplishing? I usually ask. If I don't get a mic that's turned on, I move on. Okay, so all right, I got school and work from Ramon. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. Definitely how to balance all of that. How to balance school and work and still find some time for maybe family and fun stuff. Absolutely. Thank you. And the rest of you who didn't share, I'm sure there is something that you're dealing with or interested in accomplishing. Keep that in mind as I continue my presentation. So how to fully participate today is just to be here present. Maybe some of you are logging in from work and you're doing multiple things at the same time. If that works for you, continue. If you can, just devote this hour for yourself. That would be amazing, because I have so much that I'm sharing with you in this workshop. Like I said, this is generally a 4-hour workshop, but I'm going to just like breeze through this information because I really want to share some of these tools that I also have applied in my professional life and when I was a student and so forth. So if you can just agree to be fully present and participate. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And if you have any questions after the course or something is puzzling you, or you just need to get some clarity on something, feel free to email me. And I've put my email here. Thank you. So what are we going to talk about a little bit? We're going to talk about tips to overcome procrastination, because that's one of the biggest things of why we're unable to manage our time, and why we get stuck in that. So we're going to talk a little bit about procrastination. We're going to talk a little bit about time management and goal setting. We're going to talk a lot about goal setting, actually. So let's get started. Time management training often really begins with setting goals. This process results in a plan, creating a plan, like what do I want? And the essentials to managing your time is, being personally motivated. Most of the time, why we don't get things done is because we're not sure why we're even doing stuff. Are we motivated enough? We're unable to delegate. I know that was a huge issue for me, not being able to delegate. And part of that was trust, because I was like, I can do it better. It'll take me more time to tell people what to do. And so those were the stories that I would tell myself. But I've definitely overcome those, because I had to learn that I just cannot take care of everything. Sorry, we move forward. So also like how to organize myself and crisis management. So we're going to touch a little bit on some of these. So what I'd like you to do now, Ramon, even though you're having lunch, I hope you're enjoying your lunch. Bon appetit. Still, if you can have like a piece of paper next to you and do some of these exercises, that'd be awesome. So this is a pre-assignment, and I'm going to just give you about 5 minutes to take care of this. What I'd like you to answer on your sheet of paper are the followings. What you think are your biggest time wasters, and be honest with you. Even if you like doing those that waste your time, I know it sounds weird, but sometimes it becomes habit. Really be honest with, like, what are your biggest time wasters? And then what are you currently doing to manage your time? What tools are you using? What could you be doing better? And if you came away from this workshop with only one thing that will add value, what would that be? So if you could just take a few minutes to answer these questions. And if you want to share some of it in the chat, feel free to do that as well. Love it. Yeah, Ramon, that's a common one. Reading the news while doing something else, distractions, and talking to people. Yeah. So what are your biggest time wasters? What are you currently doing that you think is helping you to manage your time? What could you be doing better? If you could walk away with one thing from this workshop that would add value, what would that be? And if you don't know it, that's okay, because I mean, that's probably why you're here. You want to get some more insights. Yes, creating a list of priorities. Awesome. We'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, not putting things off. Love it. All right. I imagine that you guys have had some time to answer these questions. And thank you for sharing some of it in the chat. And if it's okay with you, I'll go ahead and continue, but you can always come back to this if you want to elaborate on some of these answers. So I want to ask you a question. What is the number one reason most people don't get what they want? Any ideas? Why do people don't get what they want? They don't really want it. Okay. Yeah. So the number one reason why people don't get what they want is because they don't know what they want. Isn't that interesting? What is the number two reason most people don't get what is the number two reason most people don't get what they want? They don't know why they want it. Too much work, overwhelming, absolutely. So the number one reason why people don't get what they want is they don't know what they want. And number two is they don't know why they want it. So generally, like we tell ourselves, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to be more organized, I need to get my, but why? What's the motivation behind it? Because motivation, when you break down the word, is the ability to move, the energy to move. So if we're not motivated to get things done, we're not getting them done. And that's why it's important to always check in with ourselves and say, okay, why do I want to get this done? Why do I want to do these? What is it gonna, how is this gonna help me? How is this gonna move me forward in my life? And yes, absolutely, Ramon, I agree with you. Most people, why they don't start on things or why they get stuck in the middle is because they fear the outcome. They don't know what outcome all their efforts is going to produce. And the number three reason most people never reach their goals in life is because they are poor receivers. Most people, I mean, I've been doing with working with people and human behavior for, you know, the past 2 decades, 20 some years. And most people, when I talk to them, when I work with them, is that deep down inside, they don't think that they matter. They don't think that they're worth it. Again, I'm not generalizing. I'm just sharing my experience. But most people feel unworthy or undeserving, that they don't deserve that, or they're not worth to get that certain outcome that they want in their life. So we wanna definitely work on changing that. So what I want to do now, because this is really important, if you do this exercise and you take away nothing else from this workshop today, this will be a complete added value for you. Because I use this why strategy in almost anytime I want to do something, I do this why strategy, because I need to understand, why am I doing it? Am I doing this to make my parents happy? Am I doing this because my boyfriend said I should do it? Am I doing this because society wants me to do it? Like, why am I committing to do things that then, you know, overflow my calendar, or it stops me from being able to manage myself and manage my time? So this exercise is crucial. And if you guys don't do it during the workshop, you're probably not going to do it after the workshop. Okay. Because you're going to walk away, you're going to be like, oh, that was great, and put everything away and never touch this again. So I do want to spend some time, support you to get this exercise done. So what is the why strategy? This can be used really before you start a task, any task, when you want, or when you need to make a decision. It's really to get clarity as to why you're doing something. Okay. So the way it works is this way. So you think about, okay, what is it I want to do? And you think about that task, okay, or that decision that you need to make. And then you answer the following questions. You say, okay, what will happen if or when I do my desired goal or outcome or decision? What will happen? What will happen if I, if I start my diet? What will happen? What will I feel? So you write, what will happen? You answer that. What will I feel? Oh, I'll feel great. I'll feel, accomplished. I'll feel whatever that is, right? And then say, okay, what will I think? Oh, I will think that I'm disciplined. I will think that I can do this. I will think that, I'm getting healthier. What will others think or say about me? Like, wow, she can conquer her weight. She can do this. She can say something and do it. She's a person of integrity. So that's how you're answering these questions. And then after you're done with that, then you say, okay, what will happen if I don't do the following task, or if I don't make the following decision? What will I feel? What will I think? I will feel defeated. I will feel like a loser. I will feel whatever. And just being honest with your feelings about how will you feel, because you have to feel the pain, because most of us as human beings, we don't move, or we're not motivated to do anything unless there's pain. Oh, that's just common human behavior. When there's pain, when your pants start getting tighter on you and you don't want to wear elastic pants anymore, you're like, oh my God, I gotta lose a few pounds, So it's through pain that we are motivated to change. So we got to feel the pain of what will happen if I don't do something. What will I think? And what will others think or say about me? So what I'd like you to do right now is take a few minutes. I know I put down here, I don't know how many minutes I put, 10 minutes. It probably won't take that long, but I want you to spend the next 5 to 7 minutes on answering these questions. And when you're done, if you can just put it in the chat so that I know that you've completed the exercise so we can move on. And if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Talk to me private if you don't want it to talk to everyone. So think about your decision and follow these questions. I'm going to put a timer. So really be honest with yourself. And what will happen when you accomplish these goals or reach this goal? What will you feel, think, and what will others say or think about you? And sometimes I get people who say, well, I don't care what other people say. And there might be some truth to that. And at the same time, sometimes, think about people that are closest to you, family, significant other. Like, what will they say if you don't accomplish the goals that you set forth that you want to accomplish? And if you really don't care what people say, that's okay as well. And also when you're doing, what will I feel if I don't do this? You know, what is going to be the feeling for you if you don't really do what you set forth to do? If you tell yourself you're gonna clean your desk and declutter, what will you feel if you don't do it? What will you think? What will others think or say about you? Again, just depending on what your goal is. Love it, Kako. Yes, that's a common one. Absolutely. Disappointment in self. And then, when we're disappointed in ourselves, a negative talk sets in and we start punishing ourselves. Yeah, definitely. When we don't get things done or we don't check things off of our list, we get discouraged. Like, oh, I can't do this. I probably can't do anything else that I want to do. So you have another minute. Just take another minute to complete this exercise. Again, I'm putting time in this because I've seen this has been a game changer for me. So I couldn't not share this information with you. I wanted you guys to have access to this, and you can, take a picture of this slide before I change it. So you have the questions and you can literally create a, what I've done is I have these questions written and I've made several copies of these questions. And when I tell myself, oh, I need to do this, and then I'm like, why do I have to do it? Because remember, the number one reason people don't get what they want is they don't know what they want and they don't know why they want it. So even when I tell myself, okay, I need to do this, or I want to do this, it's like, why? What is that serving? So I just pull out one of my papers and I start answering these questions. And sometimes I get clarity, and sometimes I don't do, because I see that, oh, it wasn't even for me. It was just to please someone else, or it was to, there was no rhyme. I just thought I should do it. And sometimes this happens a lot with the professionals I work with. They're on social media and they see other people doing stuff and they're like, oh, they're doing this. Why am I not doing it? I should be doing it. And so it's like, then you're judging yourself if you're not. So again, it's always important to identify why we want to do something. Okay, great. So let's move forward. I imagine that you're pretty much done with this exercise. And I see some of the messages that you guys are sending me private and to everyone. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys got a chance to do this exercise. And like I said, it's something you can continue to use in other areas of your life. So let's talk a little bit about prioritizing our time. How do we do that? Time management is about more than just managing our time. It's really about managing ourselves in relation to time. And I talked about this. It's like time management is really self-management. And it means being willing to experiment with different methods and ideas to find the best way to maximize your time. Now, and this is not one size fits all. Like for some people, some methods will work more than others. Like there's people who say, oh, I make countless lists and I check them off and I feel really good when I do that. Some other people say, oh my God, I can't do lists. They overwhelm me because when I don't check them off, then I'm in self-judgment mode and so forth. Again, finding your method of what will work. So when you study time management, self-management, you can't study any of those if you and not come across this idea of setting goals, SMART goals. And the SMART is broken down for certain specific messages. So goal setting is important when it comes to time management, just like identifying why we're doing it, and then how do we and setting our goal of how to accomplish once we've cleared up why we're doing something. So the SMART goals, when you break it down, the SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timed. I'll just speak a little bit about a few of these, like specific. Success coach Jack Canfield, he said in one of his book, in his book, The Success Principles, he says vague goals produce vague results. Okay, that's why it's so important to be specific with the goals that you have. If you say, I want to make more money, let's just say, right, that's one of your goals, and you walk out the street and you find a dollar bill on the ground, you just made more money. But you see, you weren't specific about how much more money you want to make. That's why when we set goals, it has to be very specific. And it also has to be measurable. You have to be able to measure, okay, when you reach that goal. So if you say, I want to make more money, but you don't say the dollar amount, you don't say by when, right? Like timed. So it's really important to be specific about when you want to make your goal. And it has to be achievable. It's like if you say, I want to make $1 million in 2 months, but yet you're not doing anything to achieve that, it's not achievable. So you're setting yourself up for failure, for sure. And that's why goal setting is important, because it's through goal setting that you get to see some of your characteristics and that show up in that process. So if it's something is not achievable, you're setting yourself up for failure, which sometimes then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where it proves to you that, see, you can't do this. Your mom was right. Your teacher was right. Whatever we use to justify that. And relevancy. So before you set goals, it's a good idea to sit down and define your core values. Like, again, why am I doing all this? So is it relevant with my path, with what I want to accomplish? And then timed. So with having a specific deadline. When you give your mind a specific deadline, your subconscious mind starts working towards that because it wants to accomplish that goal. So we're going to do a quick goal setting. So with some of the stuff that you've already discovered by doing some of the work that you've done up to now, write down, and this is just to exercise how to write down a SMART goal. So I put one here. It is now December 2021, and due to daily exercises and healthy eating habits, I have lost 20 pounds. I feel great. And I know that I have lost weight because I'm standing on the scale and I can see that I have dropped one place it says 20 pounds and the other place says 30 pounds. So that's supposed to be 20. So you say that, like, it's measurable. I measured it because I stood on the scale and I saw that. And that's how you want to write down your goal. So go ahead and write down one goal and just use this formula while you're writing it. So it has to be specific. What is it you want? If you need support, who is the person you need support from? And if you want me to review any of your goals you've written, you're welcome to share them with me in private in the chat so I can take a look at them and give some feedback if you would like that. All right. So I imagine that you guys have started writing your goal and hopefully you've accomplished it. We want this to be a simple one. Again, it's just to give for you to exercise how to write specific, smart goals. Again, if any questions, put them in the chat. Now, another thing about setting goals is being able to visualize you accomplishing it. So if you don't, let's say when I was reading the goal before, I mentioned that, let me see if I can go back. I will feel great. So there has to be a feeling attached to the goal that you're accomplishing or wanting to accomplish. Okay. So visualizing that you're accomplishing that goal, or visualizing that money being deposited into your bank account. Sometimes people even like, print out their bank statement and then erase the amount that's in there and they put the amount that they want. So these are all just techniques that people use to accomplish their goal. One story that always stands out for me is Jim Carrey, the actor's story about when he was, for a period of his time, he was homeless. And when he was living in his car, he wrote himself a check for $10 million. And he had put the check on his mirror, like the visor, and he would look at it every night before bed and visualize that he was getting that check deposit. He didn't think about how, he didn't think about if it was possible. He just visualized and connected to the emotions. And this story exists. You can Google it, you can watch it, you can find it online. And then the next gig he got was the movie The Mask. And guess how much he made for that movie? Yep, $10 million. So this stuff works. It's just a matter of us getting out of our own way and trusting that if other people have been able to use these techniques and accomplish things, that so can you. Okay. I have a few clients that have written checks to themselves of how much they want to make. And they have it up on their ceiling where they sleep. And so when they're laying down in bed, that's what they see when they look up. So again, just different strategies. Some people create vision boards. If you're familiar with vision boards, where they, manifest and they put what they want on their board. So let's talk. So now I'm going to just introduce some ideas. Again, like I said, this was generally a 4-hour workshop and longer that I do, but I wanted to share some concepts that if you're interested to explore this more, you're welcome to do it. I mean, we have Google at our disposal, so you can look up some of this information. But there is an 80-20 rule that, and this is from the Pareto Principle. Pareto was an Italian economist, and he studied this rule where he said that this phenomenon of 80% of our results come from 20% of our effort. So imagine if we can put 20% effort in organizing ourselves and in using some of these methods to manage our time, then our results are going to be grand. Okay. Most of the time, we spend so much time on being overwhelmed and overthinking and not putting the effort that we can generally to get the results that we want. And overwhelm is the #1 reason why we don't get anything accomplished. This next concept of how to prioritize, I know some of you mentioned that in the chat. There's this urgent important matrix. This is a whole hour explanation, but I'm just going to give you some pictures of how to do this. And again, feel free to take photos of the slides if you want to remember this. And this concept was coined by President Eisenhower, and he used this to manage his tasks. And it's he would focus on, okay, what is urgent and important, and he took care of those first. And then he focused on urgent but not important, important but not urgent, and not important. So he put his tasks in these 4 different categories. And the way this looks like is like this. So, oops, sorry. So what is urgent and important? Like anything that's crisis, like immediate deadlines that you need to meet, problems that you need to solve, and deadlines. I already said that. Urgent but not important, like maintenance, like routine tasks, something that you have to do daily, you know, it's urgent but not important. Important but not urgent, opportunities, progress, high value, long, like, so they're important, but they're not urgent. Like you don't have to do this the first thing when you sit at your desk and you want to get things done. They can wait. And then the last one is not urgent and not important. Like, so like trivia stuff like that you have to take care of or you want to do, but it's not very important at that moment. Sometimes things in here fall like, you know, organizing my closet. How many of you have experienced that? When you have to work on a deadline, you think about everything else that you need to do except for the task that is at hand, right? And that's part of this category where it's not urgent and maybe not that important, or maybe it is important, but it's, you know, you can take care of it on the weekend, maybe not on Monday when you're first starting your workday. All right, so planning, oops, sorry about that. Planning wisely. The hallmark of successful management is being consistently productive each day. It's to take care of things one day at a time, one bite at a time, and always doing the most important task first. And there is a terminology I'll use in a little bit. It's called the frog, eating the frog. Creating your journal. So a lot of people function well when they have things written down. It's just what's common practice. They have a notebook, they have that they write everything down and what needs to go first, prioritizing, using some of that other Eisenhower's principle to categorize their tasks and crossing off completed tasks. That psychologically, that motivates people. When you see things crossed off and checked off, it's almost like fuel and motivation to continue to move. And when you don't do tasks that you were committed to do that day, you can move it forward to the next day. Okay, but you can only move tasks forward so many times. After you move it, like they usually say, research says 3-4 times, it just means that that task may not be that important. That's why you keep putting it off. Or if it is important, then using the strategy that I taught, the why strategy, is to figure out, okay, why did this even end up on your list? Why do you want to take care of it? So maximizing your power, the power of your personal productivity journal, planning the night before. One of the things that is really supports us is when we give messages to ourselves at night. When we're sleeping, our subconscious mind is doing the processing of how to accomplish that goal. That's why they always say before going to bed, it's so important for you to be aware of what messages you're giving to your mind. And that's why most people, most experts say, including me, I always recommend that people should not watch the news before going to bed, because we definitely know what's on the news. I've termed CNN as constant negative news, right? It's fitting. And so, but yeah, it's because the messages you give your mind at night is what your mind starts focusing on. So definitely being mindful of what you're feeding it. One of the things that I recommend my clients to do before bed is besides kind of like planning the next day, knowing what's coming up, being aware so that they're not surprised, even though we'll still be surprised with things, but it's also to do a gratitude journal. And I always share this because I find so much value in that. Generally, gratitude reduces our anxiety because we focus on what we want versus what we don't want. We focus on what we have versus what we don't have. Okay. And when we're setting our mind to focus on what we're grateful for, our mind is thinking positive and is moving towards for us to reach our success. So tackling procrastination, that came up a little bit. Procrastination means delaying a task or even several tasks that should be priority. Okay. The ability to overcome procrastination and tackle the important task is a hallmark of the most successful people out there. Sometimes people say, well, how is it that, those people in those 500 Fortune companies, how is it that they're able to accomplish so many things? Is it that they have more time? And one thing that's the same for all of us is we're all given the same amount of time per day. I mean, that's one thing that we can't, argue about or nag about or, victimize ourselves about, like, well, why are those people doing it? It's just how they're managing their time, right? I mean, that's the only thing that sets people who are successful apart from those of us who, maybe procrastinate and don't get things done, because we all get the same amount of time in the day. So why we procrastinate? We've talked a little bit about this already. Lack of motivation, fear of anxiety about doing poorly, low self-confidence about the task you're about to take on, overwhelmed by the task at hand. There's a lot of people that overthink. Oh, if I do this, well, how am I going to do this? How is that going to? And we think, and one of my teachers, I remember, because I'm a overthinker myself. It's like I almost have to plan everything in my head before I get into action. And I've had to undo that. That has been one habit that I've had to undo. It's like, just jump in the pool and you'll figure out how to swim. Because when I sit and think and think and think and think and think, my teacher would say, too much thinking causes inactivity. Where in fact, I would think, if I can think everything, then I'll get it done. But no, when we think, we become so overwhelmed and tired, we don't move. Okay. So, and the other thing is not having controls of outcomes. Well, and we do the what ifs. And I always talk about this. When we get trapped in the what if maze, it's tough to get out. Because when we get what if I do this, and what ifs create anxiousness. That's what really anxiety. I'm not talking about clinical anxiety. I'm talking about when we're experiencing anxious thoughts. It's when we're in the present moment and we connect to a future that hasn't happened yet, and we create all these outcomes that haven't happened and most likely will not happen, but we just spent an hour thinking about a future outcome that hasn't happened. And with the hour we could have spent right now in this moment to get things done, we wasted because we got caught up in that spiral thinking of what if, and connecting to outcomes that we don't have control over. So I always say, okay, I live in the present moment and I'm not connecting to a future outcome. And believe me, I've had to do this. I've struggled with anxiety growing up as a teenager. And when I first ended up in my first therapy session and talked about my anxiety, this was one of the things that I learned, is that I would constantly connect to a future, escape the reality, the moment, and connect to a future that I had no control over. And it was something that was passed down from family. My grandma was the same way. My mom is the same way. And so I had to, when I started working on that, I recognized, okay, I don't want that. I don't want that generational, habit or behavior to continue to pass down. So I had to kind of take responsibility in shifting that. So 9 ways to, I say 9 ways, but it's really, I've deleted a few of them because it would have been too long for me to explain. So there's only 7 things here, and I forgot to change the number. But, removing distractions, and I'm going to tell you one of the most amazing techniques I learned of how to handle distractions. Okay. And again, if you walk away with nothing else today, but use this distraction sheet exercise that I'm talking about, you will save so much time in your daily activity. Okay. And so there's different ways to do it, right? Like remove distractions, delegating. We talked about that. Just doing it. Again, not overthinking, asking for advice. Most people, they're proud. I was one of those people. I learned growing up, like I need to, my dad was like, you need to know things. And if I didn't know things, I was embarrassed to ask or ask for advice because I'm like, well, I'm supposed to know it. And that was one of the other things I had to let go. And actually recently I was reminded of that because I was trying to work on like connecting my iPad to the computer. I had seen another instructor do that. And I spent like 3 hours Googling, watching videos, trying to figure this out. And then finally I said, you know what? I mean, this guy already is doing it. Let me ask him. And I called him and I said, how do you connect your iPad and use, Notability on your Zoom calls? And he showed it to me. It took 2 minutes. I spent 3 hours trying to figure it out on my own. But when I just finally said, you know what, man, enough, and I just asked for advice, it took 2 minutes to get that resolved. Again, having to, it's like a shift in mindset, right? And shift our habits. That's really what, how we were able to manage our time and overcome procrastination. And we talked about, deadlines. Setting clear deadlines is very important to manage procrastination because you're setting your mind, your brain, your mind to focus on that task at hand. And your brain likes to work towards that because it's you've given it something to work towards. And then of course, always rewarding yourself when you accomplish something. Earlier yesterday, I was working on actually this PowerPoint, and then a distraction came that I'm like, oh, I want to do this. And I said, you know what? That's going to be your reward. And I'm going to share how that works on the distraction sheet. But just a couple other things of how to overcome procrastination: setting reasonable goals. We talked about that, staying motivated. Again, doing little tasks, being aware of the reasons that lead to procrastination, being aware of your thoughts, being aware of what you're doing, being aware of how often you rationalize or you find reasons for to not do something. Okay. And the rest of the stuff I've already shown, like writing down your goals, thinking about how to accomplish it, and breaking tasks down. Knowing your excuses. I already talked about that. Paying attention to what you're telling yourself that makes you procrastinate. Most people are like, most excuses I have heard up to today when I've taught these courses, when I've worked with clients, is that I work better under pressure. So I put things off on purpose. I don't know. You can raise your hand. I don't see you, but if you're one of those people, I know I was one of those people. And you know what? Listen, that worked for me when I was in college, when I was younger, when I had more stamina, when I had more energy, when I had less things to worry about. But the older I got, that statement didn't speak truth for me anymore, where I work better under pressure. Because now if I wasn't sleeping enough, where I wasn't taking care of myself, I was starting to get sick. So that working under pressure excuse that I would give myself didn't work anymore. So I had to really learn to manage my time better. I love this. Stop that little voice and replace it with action. So like the voice that tells you, oh, and said, okay, stop it. Like I usually imagine a big red stop sign because I'm a visual person, and I'm like, stop. And then I'm like, okay, what do I need to do right now? What can I take care of right now? And I just do it. I've learned, Nike, right? Nike's motto is what? Just do it, right? Most people say, I'm trying to do it. All right. Trying doesn't work. I'm sure you've heard it at some point in some training. If you watched the Star Wars movie, in the first one, it talks about that, like there's no try, there's just do, right? And Nike, I mean, if Nike's motto was try to do it, nobody would buy Nikes, but they have a very smart motto. So I think about that. Okay, just do it. Just take care of how much ever you can take care of. Writing your distractions down, very important. It will free your mind. So this is how I do this. And it's a miracle. It works every time. So let's say you're sitting down and you're working on something. Okay. What I do is I always have a sheet of paper next to me, and I call that my distraction sheet. Let's say I'm working on producing a workshop, and I'm researching, I'm reading something, in that work while I'm working, and it reminds me of something else I need to do. I read, I put these colors and I'm like, oh, blue, oh, my blue jeans, I need to wash them. For example, that is a distraction. What I do at that moment, I write that down, wash blue jeans. Okay. Then I'm working, then the next distraction comes. Then I write it down. Then I write it down. I continue to write it down. And then when I'm done with my task, I go back to my distraction sheet and I look at my distraction sheet and I see, okay, which one of these can I do during my break? And then I take care of them. Okay. Distractions are like this. I want you to imagine, and it's really important to train your mind to work with you and for you. Distractions, imagine they're like this. You're sitting in your office and distraction number one, it's like someone opening your office and saying, don't forget to do laundry, closes the door. And then, oh, remember to buy that thing off of Amazon, closes the door. And then the next distraction. I mean, would you even stand for that? Would you stand for someone constantly opening your office door, distracting you and leaving, opening? But that's what our mind is doing. Our mind, it has learned to distract us and we feed it. The moment we're distracted, we're off doing what distracted us. And then we're responding to emails that are not important maybe at that moment. We're doing all these other things and we come back to our task. It's like, okay, where was I again? So that's how we want to teach our brain, our mind to work with, so that we can manage our distractions, okay? So that's why when you write it down, you're almost telling your brain, okay, after a while, you will see. The first time you may have 10 items on your distraction sheet. The next time you may have 9. The next time you may have 8, because your brain is going to learn that, okay, once I'm working on a task, I'm concentrated and I'm getting that task done. And I can tell you, when I started applying this technique, this method, I have saved so much time. I can't even tell you. And when I'm done with, let's say, creating a curriculum or a course or whatever, I have still so much energy because I didn't allow my distractions to take over. So again, if you don't walk away with anything else, but just this idea of writing your distractions down and then tackling them later, I mean, it's a gift. Seriously, it was a gift for me when I learned this method. I talked about the eat that frog. If you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first. What this is talking about is when you're prioritizing your tasks, always do the task that is the hardest, that is the toughest, that is the biggest first. You got to get that out of the way. And then you can get to your next ones. Again, there's a lot of research around this. You can look that up. I'm left with a few minutes to wrap up this workshop. I wish I could share more about this, but there's something psychological that beneficial psychologically when you take care of the main stuff first, which generally we put them off. Okay. All right, let's see. Organizing your workspace is crucial when we are talking about getting things done, eliminating clutter. Listen, I'll tell you what clutter looks like. Clutter in our mind, which is, and I shared this, I think, in my stress workshop. Clutter is like this. When you write down things that you want to do on your to-do list and you don't do them, it's like imagine this is one item on your to-do list. It's like you write it down and then you put it in your mind that, oh, I have to do this. And then you say, oh, that other thing I need to do. And then, oh my God, I forgot that other thing. And then you continue to put these items in your mind on your list, but then it also gets on your mind. And so this is what continues to happen. So your mind is cluttered. Now, when you declutter externally, all right, it helps with decluttering your mind as well. And basically is getting things done, taking one task at a time, and why it's important that when I was saying to check things off, it's to get that one thing off your to-do list and the next thing off your, and then your mind is clear. And that's why these methods help. All right. So decluttering, important. Managing workflow, selecting, doing one task at a time, timing yourself. So I have a timer. That's what you heard just now. So I literally use this timer and I set time. So when I'm working, I always set it for 45 minutes. I work for 45 minutes, okay, on a task for whatever I'm working on. And then I take a 10-minute break, all right? And then the next 5 minutes, what I do is when I come back to my desk, I look at my distraction sheet. If there's something I can take care of from my distraction sheet, I take care of it at that moment, if it's like a quick few minutes. And then I go back to my work. So I set another 45 minutes. So that's how I do it. I bought this online. It's done wonders for me. Okay. And so again, something I recommend. I also use it to time my client sessions. Thank you, Ramon. I appreciate your feedback. I'm doing several other workshops. So hopefully I'll see you in those. All right, delegating. We talked a little bit about delegating, trusting. I mean, this is a lot about trusting, finding people in your team or in your life that you know you can give things to and trust and coach them to get it done. Sometimes it's really about just letting go and trusting that other people want to be part of your life. They want to support you. Again, it depends what kind of tasks we're talking about, right? And I knew that I was going to rush through some stuff. When to delegate, when it's an opportunity for growth for someone else, when it's a reoccurring task that you don't need to do anymore. I have one of my clients I was doing a session with last night. He said, Mel, I finally asked people to stop copying me for every email. It's like I have a department that handles these. Why did I want to be copied on everything? And it was his own stuff. We worked on his, control issues, and we worked on a lot of things where he was able to let go and say, I don't need to see every single email. And that has freed up so much time. I mean, he's a successful CEO and he had no time reading like these countless, I mean, he has a company of 1,000 people. I mean, imagine if every email he was copied on, that's overwhelmed. So he learned that one, okay, delegate. I don't need to be on these. So again, it's those one little shifts, guys, it's those little shifts that make our goals happen. Is if you look at, if you Google wheels on in Google, okay, you'll see that every wheel images, it's always a small wheel that's connected to a big wheel. And the way these wheels were engineered that way is that because when the small wheel turns, the big wheel turns without effort. So I always say the big wheels are our goals. The small gear is our one task at a time. And once we get the small gear to turn, listen, without effort, this big wheel is going to start turning. But most of the time we focus on the big goals and we're like, oh, how am I going to do it? That's overwhelming. And we get overwhelmed and we don't do anything. We stay stagnant. So please, if you adjust one little thing at a time and you get this little wheel to turn, guess what? The big wheel is going to start moving. And that's what we want. We want movement. We want shifts towards the goals that we want to accomplish. Who you should delegate to, people who are in your circle. I mean, you can identify those. Rituals are really important. And I know that I'm over time and I'm going to probably end it, but creating some sort of rituals, I'm sure you've learned when you have rituals, when you're doing things, in the morning you're doing this, and then that you're doing something else. Those rituals really reduce our stressor and add more time for us to do things versus not having a schedule and you're just kind of going, oh, I'll just do it when I feel like it. That doesn't help with our time management. Using rituals to maximize our times. dealing with email. There's a whole, maybe I'll cover some of this in my in my next workshop. I don't remember what the topic is, but really email, I've the way I teach my clients to manage email is like this. Not every email is priority. You know who your priority emails are. So I supported my boyfriend to do this with his emails, because he is easily gets distracted with his emails, and he doesn't get the important things done that he needs to. And so one of the things that I said is like, so select the people that are absolutely important emails and color code them. And he's done that. And so when he gets emails from those people, he knows those are priorities. It's like already a clue. And then he moves on to the next emails. He does it during his break time or whenever he can, like at the end of the day, he gives himself 30 minutes to respond to those emails. Thank you, Rosie. I appreciate your message. I'm glad that this has added value for you guys. And it is the coming time for me to wrap up. I hope that you guys walked away with something that is going to add value for you and manage your time. Again, you have my email, coachmel2020@gmail.com. Send me any questions that you may have. I'm sorry if I went through so much information in such a short time, but I really wanted to share some of these methods that have really been game changers for me. So I hope that this added some value for you. I'll see you guys next week. Next month, I'm doing another workshop, and just look for the emails that you get. So thank you. Have a great day and an amazing weekend. Bye-bye.